Pizza Collectors, this is me, Daniel East 1000, back again with another Star Wars The Black Series figure review. Today we're going to be having a look at the big one, a re-release of a figure that has come before, and actually one that I didn't pick up sadly, and now I can finally add it to my collection. It is none other than Jabba the Hutt and Salacious Crumb. This is a release, of course, to coincide with 40 years of Return of the Jedi, and naturally to pick from those member berries. The packaging is to coincide with that, with this very vintage styling. You've got pre-existing figures there, which aren't actually included in the set, but it does give you a look at the product itself with that very retro backdrop. Got the name of the film and also that notation at the top there about 40 years of Return of the Jedi. Some legal garb as well. Nice picture of what actually comes included in this very large box. On the other side, it's basically the same, just doesn't have the notation about 40 years of Return of the Jedi. On the other side, you've got a derpy picture of Jabba there, and notation about the character's name and the film itself. On the other side, you've got a bit more of a bigger picture of Return of the Jedi, Jabba the Hutt and Salacious Crumb. And on the bottom, ton of legal garb, big picture of the figure as well and what's included in the box, more notation about Star Wars The Black Series, and on the very top you've got 3 individual pictures just showing off some of the features that are in the set. So yeah, very nice, very packaging. I get it. It would have been nice to have seen them do something a little bit different. I think it's just such an easy thing for them to do, going with that retro styling. At the end of the day, it's just a box for the figure to sit in, and what I really want it for is to have it out on display. So let's take a look at the figure itself.
I must be allowed to speak.
Jedi mode speak go eat.
So here we have the figures themselves. Oh no, it's just me. Here we have Jabba the Hutt and Salacious Crumb. This is really a 2-pack, you could say, because these are 2 individual figures, but Jabba is the big feature and main reason that you're going to be buying this set. Now, it is worth noting this is a bit of a re-release of a Jabba that we've had before. The original release was just Jabba himself, he didn't come with anything else, and that was always a little bit disappointing, a reason why I didn't pick that figure up, and a San Diego Comic-Con release of which came with all the editions, and even the packaging as well did actually act as a diorama, having the dais that he sat on, albeit in cardboard. So at the time, the amount that San Diego Comic-Con exclusive was garnering just never seemed worth it. So it's taken me a very long time to get a Jabba in my collection. I'm really glad that Hasbro decided, it was a given really, it was a given that they were going to re-release him or release an updated version for Return of the Jedi's anniversary. So let's just get into the features of Jabba himself. We will take a look at Salacious Crumb, so I do sort of count him as an accessory. Here he is. Some absolutely amazing paint and detailing gone into this guy. He's so grotesque in the film, and they've captured that amazingly in figure form as well. There's some really cool tone changes and paint application that's just been added onto this guy. All those slug-like folds of flab just looks absolutely remarkable. Even on the bottom as well, despite having some legal garb there, you can see the sort of like slug-like suckers and his belly there. Just looks really great. If you note on his mouth, he's got the drool, just so grotesque, got a bit of a tongue sticking out. And I always love the nose as well, which kind of looks like a mobster's little moustache. Just fantastic, and the eyes as well are really striking. Hasbro's done a terrific job with the paint application, at least on this release. I can't remember how it looked on the original. I thought the original was alright. Quite an interesting feature that they included with this figure was a moving mouth. That was seen on the original, and that's brought with this one as well. So if you move the arms, it does make his mouth move, so you can go oh. Of course, you can see the tongue in there. So that's quite an interesting thing. Because of that, they've made the top of the body with this rubbery material. So of course, when you move the arm and the mechanism, it does make that move. I think that's really cool. I'm not too sure the longevity of that. I would hope sometime Hope it doesn't rip or tear at all, but that's something to maybe consider. I think really I would have been cool with it just being a solid block of plastic. Maybe have a removable faceplate so you could change the expression. That would have been quite nice. But I do like the ingenuity there. I do like that Hasbro were trying to do something a little bit different. It's cool to have a play feature on a figure. It's very rare that we see Hasbro do play features, so it's nice to see a bit of a return to form with that. Naturally, because of Jabba's shape, he's a very hard character to sort of create in figure form, particularly because as a slug, if he moved, you know, his whole body would physically move as well. So naturally, when you sort of contort the body around, that paint doesn't quite match up with the lower part. I mean, it kind of works. It looks okay when you've got him on the front angle like that, but he is really meant to be displayed either like this or look into the front where the body's sort of contorted. Once again, appreciate Hasbro's ingenuity with this. If they did go for this kind of rubbery material on the full figure, then that would cause maybe more breakages, particularly if you were trying to pose the tail and the whole body. So I'm cool with this being sort of like a hard bit of plastic. It's not very weighty either. It's quite lightweight, which is nice. It just looks very good. I can see why they haven't messed around too much with the original release, although I do feel like the paint applications are much nicer. Something to note as well that I absolutely adore is the fact that they've included his little tattoo on his arm there. So that's really, really awesome. In terms of its articulation, just going to have a quick look into that. He does have ball jointed shoulders, although they are on these ratchet joints, just because for that feature to move the mouth, to have that posability, the ratchet joints are there so that you can pose it initially. Then once you've got it there, then that's when you can sort of move the arms. As you can see, when you move one arm, the other one does move along with it. So you can pose them at the very least. You've got ball jointed elbows and ball jointed wrists. There's also a swivel in the torso. That's a lovely sound if I ever did hear one. And that's all the articulation that this figure has, of course, besides the moving mouth. I think that's all they really needed to include. Like I said, Jabba is quite a difficult character to embody in figure form due to the complexity of his anatomy and how to make that work and articulation work with it. And I think Hasbro's done a really great job of that. So in terms of the accessories that he comes with, these were accessories that were seen with the San Diego Comic-Con release. As such, you've got the hookah pipe and the holder for that, and that looks absolutely stunning. There is assembly required, so you have to attach this within the holder. Also, this comes in two separate parts as well, and that just tabs in very nicely just there. You've got this very nice sort of weird ornate design, which looks fantastic, and there's some little buttons and doodads just there. Just having a look at that hookah pipe, just some really cool work has gone into that. There's something in there, it looks like goo, I don't know. Just really, really awesome. This pipe does also attach onto here. Just fit that on. And then you've got the mouthpiece for that, and Jabba does hold that very, very well. So it's nice that they've included this. It would have been nice to have seen some more paint application on that, but that's fine. Now, not only that, he does come with Salacious Crumb, of which is a figure in his own right, although you can count this as an accessory due to his size, but he does feature quite a bit of articulation. Now, I can't remember if the San Diego Comic-Con release is different to this. I have a feeling it is. It's not as articulated. I do feel like this sculpt is taken from a Galaxy's Edge release, and it's just a repaint of the Quackian monkey lizard that comes in that. So I think that's where the base mold's from. This figure just has some really great articulation, so I'm just going to run into that first. So he's got a ball jointed head, ball jointed shoulders, ball jointed hips, ball jointed knees, and a ball joint in the tail, so you can get that in some various poses. He is a little bit awkward to sort of stand or sit down or get in any real pose, but if you work with him a bit, you can get him to work. And he does look accurate to how he looks in the film, or thereabouts. I don't think he's as grotesque, but the likeness is relatively there. For such a small figure to put that amount of articulation in is to be commended, and it's a nice inclusion to put with Jabba, because really you can't put this as a standard release, although I'm sure Hasbro may try. So yeah, there's not really much to say about this guy, and really does seal the set together. Just gonna have a quick sip of water and think about what I'm going to say next. So that's everything that comes with this set, and it does leave me scratching my head a little bit at the price point. I know Jabba at the time was about £30 or £40, so to price this up at 70, well, it is certainly a hell of a lot cheaper than that San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, it's still a little bit extortionate. What I would have really liked to have seen them include would have been his dais, the throne that he sits on. But sadly, all the releases haven't included that. And when that happens, there's an itch that needs to be scratched. Unfortunately, when you have friends...
F is for friends who do stuff.
Never! That's completely idiotic.
...who are awesome enough to help you make one, really they made most of this, all of it. Big shout out to Becky's Builds here for this awesome Jabba's dais throne. This looks absolutely incredible. It is still a work in progress, but we've got these 3D printed gargoyles that have been really nicely painted up. I did a little bit of work on this as well in terms of the paint, but all the sculpting and stuff was done by Becky's Builds, and this looked absolutely awesome, especially when you get the figure sat on it. It's quite weighty as well, I must admit. There will be a full making of video for this and some other things that are going to go with this in that video. So if you want to make your own, I highly recommend you checking that out. But yeah, I'm super, super impressed with this. It looks absolutely fantastic. I'm going to put that down. So again, huge props to Becky's Builds. I'm really pleased that I picked this Jabba up because I have been needing a Jabba in my collection for some time. While I'm not too happy with the price point that this is at, I mean, this is really an exclusive to Hasbro Pulse. You kind of have to factor that in a tiny bit as well, annoyingly. Nonetheless, let me know what you guys think of this set. Have you picked it up? Will you be picking it up? Let me know in the comments down below. And well, this is me, Daniel East 1000, signing out, and thank you very much for watching.